You for downloading the New Mexico statutory durable power of attorney form. My name is Ed Lovato. I'm an attorney here in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. And this video is to explain this document, a durable financial power of attorney to you, and sort of give you some tips on how to fill it out correctly. But first, I want to explain what the document is used for. So this financial or property power of attorney, as it's sometimes called, is used so that you can designate an agent, or also known as an attorney in fact, which is somebody who can basically stand in your shoes and make decisions and take actions on your behalf as if they're you. And the reason it's so important to have a power of attorney like this in place is that should you become disabled or incapacitated and you're unable to handle your own affairs, make your own decisions, then this document would have already designated an agent that can step in and take care of those things on your behalf. And what that does for you is it allows you to avoid going through a conservator or guardianship proceeding at the court. So it's always a good practice. We recommend to all of our clients to have a property power of attorney in place. And so let's just jump right into the form here. I'm going to share my screen with you and we will get started. Okay, so this form you'll see here, it says New Mexico durable power of attorney of blank, and that's where you would insert your name. And then on each page, there's 5 pages. You'll see down here at the bottom, durable power of attorney of blank. That's also on each page where you would simply put your name. And then back to the top, part 1 is the designation of your agent. So for this section where it says I blank, again, that's where you insert your name, of the city where you're from, and then the county where you're from. You appoint the following person as your agent. So this is where you would list the name of your agent, their relationship to you, their address, and their phone number. And when you consider about who you should designate as your agent, you want to be very mindful and thoughtful about this. You know, this is going to be somebody who has a pretty broad grant of authority and power to act on your behalf. So you want to make sure that it's somebody that you trust completely and that you have no concerns about them perhaps taking advantage or misusing this power of attorney. Number 2 is where you would name a successor to your agent. So if your primary agent were unable or unwilling to serve, then you can name a successor agent. Again, you'd list their name, their relationship to you, their address, and phone number. Upon you signing this power of attorney, it would become effective immediately, and durability simply means that it would survive your incapacity, so that if you're in the hospital or you're unable to make your own decisions and you've already executed this power of attorney, it's still a valid and enforceable power of attorney. Down to part 2, where it talks about agent's authority. This is where you can go through line by line and initial in between these parentheses here for each subject that you want to grant authority to your agent to have the ability to act on your behalf for. So there's all these different things like real property, tangible personal property, stocks, bonds, etc. So you can go through and initial in each one of these boxes for the powers that you want to grant to your agent. If you want to grant all of these powers to your agent, then you would simply come down here where it says all preceding subjects and put your initials in that box. That way you don't have to go through and initial each one above it. Now this part where it says grant of specific authority, in order for your agent to have the authority to do any of these things that are listed here, you have to specifically grant them that authority by placing your initials in these parentheticals here. So these are kind of more serious things like creating or amending a trust, gifting assets, changing beneficiary designations, and so forth. So state law does require for any of these that you specifically make this grant of authority. Moving on to part 3, you can include special instructions here. If you have no special instructions, you can simply leave this blank. But if you have any additional instructions that you want to list here, or any additional powers perhaps that you want to grant to your agent, you would list those here simply by writing that in. And then part 4 is the nomination of your conservator or guardian. This is optional. You don't have to do this. But what this is about is, should you become incapacitated and should the court need to appoint somebody to act as your conservator or guardian, you can nominate someone to act in that capacity here. So you would list their name, their address, phone number, etc. for both a conservator, and a conservator is somebody who would have the authority to act on your behalf regarding business affairs, legal affairs, assets, buying, selling, and that sort of thing. Whereas a guardian of your person is somebody who would be responsible for taking care of you, making sure your needs are met, and that sort of thing. So this is where you would nominate either your conservator or guardian or both, and the court generally, unless there's some good reason not to, they're going to honor your nomination here if a conservator or guardian needs to be appointed. And then moving on to part 5, reliance on this power of attorney. This basically says that any person who relies on this power, and if your agent is acting in good faith, then there's not going to be any liability on somebody who relies on this power. That's really it in terms of the substantive parts that you need to fill in. At the very bottom here is where you would have it signed and witnessed, and then also there's a notary block, and we're gonna explain how to execute that in a separate video. But those are the basic instructions for this durable power of attorney. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in our next video.